handshake happened between the industry and the academic institution. Before I dive straight into my presentation, I want to lay certain backgrounds. Interestingly, before I go forward, I also want to welcome our participants who are online. Before the slides came on, I could recognize the online presence of Dr. Olajide Aogo, the MD, Matrix Fertilizer Limited. You are welcome, sir. And all the other online participants that I may not be able to mention the names. You are all welcome to this session. Well, to put a historical perspective to what I'm here to discuss today, I will just go back in time to somewhere around 2002, 2003. For a very long time, Nigeria had an opportunity again to have a president who came in through democracy. We have had a series of interregnum by the military, and it was time again for Nigeria to settle down for democracy. Then we had the former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, who, in his wisdom, decided to put together a committee to look at what he termed at the time the accelerated and sustainable development of solid mineral potentials of Nigeria. So you will see that what we are here to discuss today is not the first time we have had such a conversation. Eminent scholars were put together. One of them that I can remember very vividly was a renowned geologist, Professor Abdurrahman from Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife. We took time for over 2 months to receive memoranda from members of the public on the best way forward to develop the solid mineral potentials of Nigeria. That committee was headed by no other person than the former governor of Kaduna State, distinguished Senator Ahmed Makarfi. And it was a whole bundle of work. And I can tell you a whole lot of recommendations came at the end of that program. We were at the villa to submit 2 volumes of recommendations to the president. And I can tell you that sometimes there are things that work in Nigeria. One of the recommendations that came from that committee work was the establishment of Nigeria Institute of Mining and Geosciences in Jos. Because a gap was identified that you have academic institutions all around the country offering courses in mining and geosciences. One of the most prominent ones that you have is Federal University of Technology, Akure, who at the time was only university offering courses in mining engineering at either the BSc, the MSc levels. But we have a number of polytechnics around Nigeria, about 4 of them, offering courses in mining engineering. Most of the universities, federal universities, they offer courses in geology and geosciences. But the plan of the committee at the time, in their wisdom, is to have an institution, a specialized institution, where you can just bring people in the industry, practitioners, players, who from the introduction by Dr. David Afolayan, who can tell you what has happened in the mine as of yesterday, to come to the classroom and interact with the student. It started very well, and but at some point, it later became a parastatal in the Ministry of Solid Minerals. And the initial intention of having a specialized institution, I don't think is there anymore. That is just to put an historical perspective to what we are to discuss. So for me, having Africa University of Science and Technology rejigging, like they say, you cannot reinvent the wheel. Rejigging the effort around this sector, I think for me, it's a welcome development. And this is the type of handshake that we would like to have going forward between industry and academic institutions. So once again, I want to commend African University of Science and Technology for this very laudable initiative. Before I go into my presentation, I would also like to inform you that for those of us who practice mining engineering, I've been doing that for the past 25 years. For those of us who practice mining engineering, we are very proud people. There is, it's almost turned into a cliche, but there is a saying in our space that if you do not grow it, you mine it. So it's just as simple as that, Look around where you are seated. Every other thing that you can find, if it is not from agriculture, it is from mining. So, and that is where that popular saying came from. If you don't grow it, mine it. That is to tell you how important the sector is. But you can see from my presentation, the first page is saying that Nigeria mineral potential for sustainable economic growth. Nigeria rich deposits include gold, tin, coal, limestone, iron ore, bitumen, and lithium. Yet the sector contributes only 0.83% to GDP. The figure of 0.83% came from the latest solid mineral audit report released by NITI. We are familiar with Nigeria Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative. They have also been doing very fantastic job, very, very fantastic job. And we need to continue to encourage them. Now, has it always been like this? Has it always been like this? Then we can cast our minds back to the early 1900s. Mining as a business started in Nigeria far back 1902. 1902. Then we have the Nigeria Coal Corporation, we have the Nigeria Mining Corporation, and we have a list of other corporations. But today, we no longer have them. I also want to commend the Minister for Solid Mineral Development, Dr. Dele Alake. He's also doing very fantastically well. Recently, he has sent a bill to the National Assembly, to bring back some of the old glories of the Nigeria Mining Corporation. So he is trying to set up what is now called the new Nigeria Solid Mineral Corporation. The bill is before the National Assembly. We are hopeful that something meaningful will come from there. But this time around, it has a different perspective on how it should be run. When we had the military intervention, most of these corporations became the sole ownership went to the federal government of Nigeria. And you know what government can do with institutions like that. This time around, the minister is proposing a 50-25-25 arrangement. The corporation will be owned 50% by the private sector, 25% by government, and another 25% by Nigerians. In that way, he hopes that even when subsequent administration comes in, it will be extremely difficult to tamper with that kind of arrangement. Another thing that he has also tried to do is to model it after the Nigerian liquefied natural gas project. If we look carefully into some of our institutions, NLG will jump at anyone as one of the best run institutions in Nigeria, one of the best run companies in Nigeria. I will give you a little insight about the structure of Nigeria liquefied natural gas. Sometimes around 1979, Nigeria discovered gas a long time ago, but we had planned around 1979 to start harnessing gas as one of our very important resources. That plan took a nosedive after change of government from military to civilian in 1979. And not much was done about it until 20 years later, in 1999, we had a new president. That was the same president who wanted to do something about it before he handed over to a civilian administration. When he came in May 1999, he started a whole lot of effort around how to harness the gas in Nigeria. And Algeria started same time with us in 1979, and they have made they've gained a whole lot of traction around the gas usage. President Olusegun Obasanjo did two things. One, he signed what we call the Sales and Purchase Agreement, SPA, with about 4 companies from 4 countries of the world, from Spain, from Turkey, from Italy, and from France. You have Gas de France of France, you have the Botas of Turkey, and a host of them. Then he also signed another agreement that is called the Production Sharing Contract. The Production Sharing Contract is to happen between the Nigeria entity, which is the NNPC, and 4 other participants, 4 other companies, namely Shell, Total Fina F, Chevron, and Agip. These 4 companies are to contribute gas to a pool where it will now be liquefied and shipped out of the country. The whole essence of liquefaction is for ease of transportation. Gas will be brought down to minus 16 degrees centigrade, and it is now easy to transport. That is just the whole idea about liquefied natural gas project. Back then, President Obasanjo did not look at the limitation of the agreement. The agreement was to run for the next 20 years. And the most painful part about the agreement is that the price of gas will be fixed for 20 years. Yes, yes. But you know, the president, I will not call him a cunning man, but he was also a very smart individual. Nigeria was to earn a total of $750 million from these sales yearly, annually. $500 million go to the Nigerian government. Then the balance of $250 million goes to the companies contributing to the gas development. Now, what the president did was to limit that agreement to existing trains of LNG. We had gas train, we have train 1, train 2, and train 3 as of September 1999. So the agreement was limited just to these 3 trains. It was stated explicitly, any other train that come after this cannot be covered under that sales and purchase agreement. And what did he do? While Nigeria was making money annually from the sales of gas, he started injecting the same money to develop train 4, LNG train 4, train 5, train 6. I think today Nigeria is on train 7. You can fact check that. So that has been a model where Nigeria has not been shortchanged significantly. It looked like a very bad agreement going into it at the time, but he knew what he wanted to achieve through that. And I can tell you till date, it is a model that has worked very, very well. So when I had the minister, Dr. Dele Alake, talk about modeling the new corporation after the LNG, I think we should be hopeful that it's something that is going to work and it's something that is going to endure. What do we have? Thank you. Let me just go back a little bit. Well, why Nigeria, as of today, contributes, why the solid mineral sector in Nigeria as of today contribute 0.83% to the GDP due to challenges like infrastructure and regulation, I would like to share the good news with you that other jurisdictions around Africa, they do better. For instance, I was at a seminar, the first of its kind, that was organized sometimes in 1995, when the late General Sunday Abacha appointed Alhaji Kaloma Ali as his first minister of solid mineral. He came to Kogi State, and because he recognized Kogi State as one of the solid mineral destinations in Nigeria, and the military administrator at the time organized a very elaborate ceremony at the banquet hall of Kogi State Government House in Lokoja. I sat and I listened to a whole lot of information that was coming. As far back as 1995, the minister mentioned that South Africa, as of that time, was making $2 billion annually from solid mineral. And he wanted Nigeria to do about 50% of that. That I'd like to share with you today. The solid mineral sector in South Africa is contributing 18% to the country GDP. 18%. We are doing 0.83%. They are contributing 18%. If we go again to the Central Africa and go to Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC is contributing 25%. The solid mineral sector in DRC is contributing 25% to the GDP of the country. But if we now have to go to the elephant in the room among them, that is Botswana. Botswana is a model for any African country or any other mining destinations around the world. Thank you. As of today, the contribution of solid mineral sector to the GDP of Botswana has gone up to 40%. So you see, we have examples around Africa that we can copy. Now, we would like to discuss preliminary research and geological mapping. Identifying mineral-rich area is the first step because now we need to discuss the steps. To identify mineral-rich area, geological surveys using aeromagnetic, aeroradiometric, and remote sensing data help map zones like the schist belt in northwestern Nigeria. Historical data from colonial discoveries such as tin in Jos and coal in Enugu provide valuable insights. Well, I would like to elaborate more on this. One of the most important institutions in Nigeria as of today is Nigeria Geological Survey Agency. I think we have not appreciated that agency enough. That was an agency that was established as far back as 1919. Yes, 1919. It has existed till today. I think it's one of the few that survived, the throes of change of government and the rest of them. You can find bundle and bundle and bundle of information deposited with Nigeria Geological Survey Agency. I will give you a practical example. Today, we are processing tin in a location known as Wamba in Nasarawa State. For interesting observers, Wamba is not just a shot from the dark. The Europeans were in Wamba as far back as the 1900s. Yes, also to mine tin, the same tin we are mining there now. So you see, when we talk about colonial discovery, it did not only happen in Jos and in Enugu, it also happened in places around Nasarawa State. And it's in one of those places right now that we are conducting our activities. So that is to show you how important some of these colonial discoveries can be. Our mining pit is located 2.5 kilometers away from our processing plant, and it's part of what we'll be discussing under infrastructure. You cannot process tin without having a constant supply of water. One of the experiences I like to share with you is for my plant to run daily for about 8 hours, the processing plant has a capacity to process 100 tons of tin ore in an hour. And to work for an 8-hour period, I need 4 million liters of water to get that done. 4 million liters of water. So if we get to the point where we will now be discussing infrastructure, dam is one of the most important infrastructure you can find in the mining environment or the mining ecosystem. Because yes, we had a stream somewhere around the mining area, but the water flowing through it will not be available all through the year. And for you to be able to conduct your mining activities all through the year, you need to store the water. We need to store the water. So what we have done in our own case is to construct a dam that can store, right now, that dam stores 96 million liters of water. Yes, we are able to do that because of the availability of equipment. For those who engage in the artisanal and small-scale mining, this is an uphill task for them. And that is where we need to have conversation around what can we do with people who still go out to the field to do this with their bare hands. You know, the economic situation in the country today suggests that individuals will have to survive. So you cannot, in good conscience, stop activities of people in this sector. And for me, that is more reason why they have an entire department within the Ministry of Solid Mineral dedicated to the activities. You have the artisanal and small-scale mining department. The other two departments, the Mine Inspectorate Department and the Mine Environmental and Compliance Department, they are just the key department within the sector, but the one dedicated externally is the artisanal and small-scale mining department. Now, the whole idea for us is that going forward, for us to be able to, because for now, even the 96 million liters of water that we store, when we run, we still recycle it. Because if we allow the one we have used to go to the stream, to go back to the stream, you can do the maths. It will be exhausted in just a few weeks. If constantly we wash and we use 4 million liters of water daily. The goal for us is to be able to store a total of 1 billion liters of water. That will guarantee constant operation all through the year without the need for us to recycle. Now we talk about the techniques, the aeromagnetic, aeroradiometric, remote sensing, and AHP prioritization. All these techniques, they rely on the data that will come from the Nigeria Geological Survey Agency. Yes, in our own case too, we acquire data from Nigeria Geological Survey Agency, interpreted the data, and move to the field. Because everything, I listened to the presentation done by Dr. David Afolayan, and he continued to emphasize the need for research. You know, the research does not start at the stage where you are already processing your mineral. No. Research will start even from your desk before you even move to the site. And that is why a whole lot of work needs to be done around here. The data has to be acquired. And talking practically now, it is not that expensive. Between 350, 400,000, you can get a data to cover a span of about 15 cadastral units. That's about 3 kilometer square space. Maybe if you needed more, then you can pay more. So once you have that, then there are available software, you know, the montage and the rest of them that you can now use to interpret the data. And once the data is interpreted, the next stage will be to go to the site to do what we call the ground magnetic. Before this session, I had the opportunity to discuss with Dr. Sheung, and I made him realize that the problem we have is not about the availability of data. Because what I've had most of the time is, well, we want investors to come to the country, but where is the data? No, the data is available. I think the problem will be around how do we manage the data, data management. The data is available. I can tell you for free, the data is available. Because without data, we wouldn't have been able to do what we are doing at the moment. If we move from there, the next stage now will be, your interpretation will have shown you the area that is magnetic and the area that is not magnetic. And that is when you see the map, you see the blue and the red color. For industry practitioners, they already have an idea of what that is speaking to. Because the whole idea of doing that is that even if you do not interpret the data, you can just be shooting very wide. You can go to a tenement of about 15 CU and you want to explore everywhere. What the interpretation of data does for you is to delineate the space that is metallic and the space that is not metallic. The one that is not metallic, because you want to deal with metals, so you are not concerned about what is happening there. So you are now focused on the space that is metallic. So when you are back at the space that is metallic, there are other geophysical survey methods that you still need to deploy. After doing the ground magnetic, you need to do the VLF, the one that we call the very low frequency. You know, these techniques are just readily available, and it is for us to be able to get as much subsurface information as we can that can help us to make a decision on what to do going forward. The most critical part of it is, after the interpretation and everything that we have gotten, we will need to do what we call induced polarization. It's also a geophysical survey technique. Induced polarization measures two variables, the one that we call the resistivity and the one we call the chargeability. Now, depending on how experienced you have become while practicing, you have all this data jumping at you. You have areas with high changeability. You have another area with both high changeability and high resistivity. You have low changeability, high resistivity. Then you have high changeability, low resistivity. Places that you will be looking out for you to be able to make an informed decision will be those areas where you have recorded high changeability and low resistivity. High changeability and low resistivity. So once you have been able to get all these together, your interpretation of the induced polarization will also give you an idea of targets for drilling. Because again, it is not enough for us to know that there is a presence of a mineral deposit. We also want to know, is it of commercial value? Can we mine it profitably? And also, the question of sustainability will also come. We would like to look at the environmental, the social, and the governance around those mining activities. Exploration and prospecting. Some of these I've already mentioned, but I will also go further to discuss with us about sampling and surveys. We talk about soil, rock, vegetation sampling, magnetic, radiometric, electromagnetic surveys. The experience I would like to share with you where we work at the moment is such that after getting all our values from the geophysical method of induced polarization, we still have to divide the area we need to cover into matrices. In our own case, the matrix is 100 by 100. 100 by 100, 100 meter by 100 meter. So after creating that, then we brought in the geochemist to come and take the samples. Where we work today, we took over 4,000 samples, because the more the number of samples you take, the more information that is available to you. Yes, what that has assisted us to do, I will share with you. Most of the time, you will find mineralized areas showing, okay, you have tin, you have columbite at this location, you have lead, you have zinc. But the interpretation, the analysis of the soil sample that you have taken will be the one to show you the concentration. And this is very, very important. As of today, we are working over, out of about 1.3 kilometers of an identified vein, we are only working around 800 meters. Why is that? Why is that? Because we found from the result of the soil samples, the result of the soil sample that we took, we did the analysis with a company called Minutor. It's a South African company. They used to have their lab somewhere around Jabi. I don't know if they are still there right now, but they have an active collaboration with a lab in Canada. So some of these samples, when they take from us, they only prepare the pulp and send it over there. Now, it will only give you values in ppm, parts per million. Some of the places where we have excluded from the job we are doing right now gave us part per million for cassiterite, that's the SN, in the range between 100 to 150 ppm. But the places we have selected to work gave from the range between 200 to 250 ppm. So you see why it is important not just to take the sample, but also to subject it to further analysis. If you are holding, I listened carefully to Dr. Afolayan while he was making his presentation. You are holding a rock in your hand. It's of almost no value until it is further processed. Same thing with the soil samples. You know, if you are fetching the soil sample, you don't even know there is tin in it until it is analyzed. Unfortunately, today I had wanted to bring some rock samples containing tin so that we can just physically identify those ones. But opportunity will still be there for us to be able to come back and showcase some of these things. Now, because of the number of samples that we had to take from that location, it gave us the absolute confidence that the area that we have selected that we want to further investigate is the area that we can mine profitably. Then I'll also tell you that after this, we talk about technology, core drilling, and 3D reflection seismic survey for deposit evaluation. Yes, we did not end our exploration with collecting the samples for analysis. Those points that have been identified, we also conducted drilling. We did more than 1,400 holes. Yes, where we work at the moment, more than 1,400 holes, drilling to a depth of 25 meters in each. So if you do the maths, you see the total volume of drilling that was done. I attended the Future Minerals Forum in Riyadh this year, January 2025. And I met one of the exhibitors, you know, is a vendor for one of the very big geophysical companies. And what she was hawking at that event is, if you have 200 meters of reliable drilling information, they can use AI to process it and give you 3D modeling of your subsurface structure. Just 200 meters. So if we have drilled 1,400 holes at 25 meters, imagine the amount of information that is already available. So sometimes we have to follow some of these practices for us to be able to achieve the best result in the industry. And I think that is the reason why we're having this conversation. Then we talk about local engagement involving artisanal miners for knowledge and data collection. Very, very key, very important. Most of the time, before we even venture out, we will have done reconnaissance survey. And the reconnaissance survey will have shown us the existence. About 2 days ago, I sent some of my geological team to a location in Kano State. There's an important destination for tin extraction and processing in Kano State. It's called Ririwe, under Doguwa local government. Most of the places that we saw on the map, when they went to the ground, we discovered that there were no mining activities by the artisanal miners. That is enough red flag to say you cannot go any further. Okay, at locations where we find the activities of artisanal miners, yeah, we will still subject it to further investigation, right? But those locations where we have not even seen the activities of any artisanal miner at all is a no-go area. So you see, they are very, very important, and they are key drivers in the sector. So there is no how we could have done what we have done now without actually, we call them pathfinders, you know, and that is why even while we work, we hardly chase them away. I mean, how much can they do in a day, in a month, in a year? You know, you want to compare that with someone that has a facility that can wash 100 tons per hour, you know, and how many tons in a day? So how many tons can they wash in a week? So most of the time, we just allow them to continue to coexist. And That's part of local engagement. Resource evaluation and feasibility studies. Here we talk about economic assessment, cost, revenue, and risk estimation, environmental and social infrastructure. Yes, in the previous while I was discussing on the need for us to have adequate sampling and surveys, I think I've also mentioned some of this information there. But the most important one is, even after we have done the drilling, and what's the idea of doing drilling? We want to be able to have an idea of reserve estimation. And from the classes, we know there are 3 types of reserve. You know, and this thing should be like interactive. Dr. Shehu would like to help me with one of the 3, and that will be what? Proven. Good. He went for, he went for the best. So we have proven, we have the one that we call inferred, the estimated. But for you to be able to take the risk of moving to the site to even do extraction, you have to have a proven reserve. You have to have a proven reserve. Today, in Nigeria, what the Ministry of Solid Mineral Development have in their archive of about 150, 150, what they have is 570 million metric tons. Yes, million metric tons. So what we have been able to identify in our place is about 250,000 metric tons. But I can tell you it's also a work in progress, because after doing what we have done with the geological investigation, is an ongoing thing. As we continue to mine, investigations also continues. So it is important. There's what we call the feasibility study, and there's also the one that we call the bankable feasibility study. It is the bankable feasibility study that you'll be able to brandish in front of your financiers, and they will be able to have a thorough interaction and come to the conclusion that it is a viable project that can be supported. So it is important, but bankable feasibility study is a whole discussion on its own, that can take more than an hour, 30 minutes that we have allocated for this. Environmental and social. We talk about impact evaluation, mitigation, and community agreement. Fantastic. One of the things that you have to do to be able to even get a mining lease, a small-scale mining lease, or a mining license for mining cadastral office, is also your ability to be able to demonstrate that you have done what is called the environmental impact assessment. But as a practitioner, I will tell you that because of the exorbitant fee that is connected with that, I was in Dangote up to December 2010, and I remember that the fee was so exorbitant that even Dangote had to find a way around it. So what we did was to pay the penalty and do what is called the environmental audit. So NESRIA, an agency under the Federal Ministry of Environment, is given that task to be able to issue an environmental audit certificate, which is valid for every 3 years. For our operation, we have the new one. We got the first 3 years, we have renewed for another 3 years. So that is the compliance angle in this conversation. That even while you are doing your resource evaluation and feasibility studies, you have to factor in the environmental and social, because we want to know what we call the impact, measures and mitigation. They call it IMM, you know. And there's a particular department within the Solid Mineral Development Ministry that is also saddled with this kind of responsibility, the Mines and Environmental Compliance Department. They also issue a similar certificate. It's called Environmental Protection and Rehabilitation Plan, because you need to show that even when you want to start mining, you have at the back of your mind how to close the mine. You know, you begin to close. That's the word. Now, in our own case, because I like to share experience, most of the pits where we have extracted this mineral, because we generate so much tailing, it is easy for us to use the same tailing to reclaim those pits. You know, if you drive to the site now and I show you that we have mined in this location, you will not believe it. It has been reclaimed. And it doesn't stop at reclamation. You also have to do what is called revegetation. Today, on my site in Wamba in Nasarawa State, you find different species of trees. Commonly among them is the one that is called the Melana trees. They are in their nursery stage. We are already planning revegetation even while we are still mining. So these are some of the practices that I think people who are genuinely interested in doing extraction and processing within the sector should be thinking about. Although there has not been so much enforcement in this regard, but best practice is best practice everywhere. I know Dr. Shehu will be talking a lot about best practices. I don't want to dive into his content. Now, infrastructure, addressing gap in transport and utilities for project success. Last year, we were to commission our processing plant. The governor of Nasarawa State visited my site sometimes around July of 2024. And he was impressed with what he saw. And he said, okay, so just call me and say, come for commission. And we plan to do the commissioning the following month of August. There came the rain. It rained so badly that the road connecting us to the next available village was totally washed out. So, infrastructure, you know, that delayed us till November of that year before we could fix infrastructure, and now later invited the governor to come for the commissioning. That was done November 28 last year. So the place infrastructure cannot be overemphasized. And during my previous conversation around that, I also mentioned infrastructure like dam. You know, another key infrastructure should be the power infrastructure. But today, companies have learned to survive with generators. On our site today, we run a total capacity of about 1,200 kVA, you know, and that takes a minimum of about 650 liters of AGO on daily basis. That's huge. So one of the things that we think government can do to make the life of businessmen, practitioners in the sector, players in the sector easy is to guarantee power supply. And from what we have seen today, it can be done like a captive power. You don't have to do all the rigors of ensuring that transmission lines get to everywhere. You know, compact power, they call it portable power, you know, can be arranged, you know, for the total energy consumption that I have to undertake there is just for me to be able to mention it to the relevant government institution. And if you check, the kind of fee that I will pay if I have captive power will be so cheap compared to what we are doing with AGO right now. Yeah, running generator in the long run is not sustainable. It's not sustainable. So it's one of the gaps that have to be addressed. But as businessmen, we just have to, go on and do what we have to do, because we think we are able to do it. Mining, extraction, and processing. Efficient and sustainable extraction uses methods suited to deposits, such as placer mining for gold and quarrying for limestone. Mechanized equipment support large-scale operation, while artisanal miners receive training and tools. Well, I'm glad we are talking about artisanal miners. What I will share with you, after the Civil War, Nigeria could no longer boast of any large-scale mining operation until the entries of players like Aliko Dangote. The first place I came across a dump truck that can carry 150 tons of limestone at a go was at the Obajana Cement PLC in Kogi State. Before then, yes, I had my practice at National Iron Ore Mining Company in Itapwe, also in Kogi State. But the biggest of that kind of equipment we had could only carry 100 tons. We were using Teres dump trucks from UK. But when I got to Obajana, I saw CAT equipment like CAT 785C that can carry as much as 150 tons of material at a go. So that is to let you know that for you to be able to do any large-scale operation, you also need equipment to do that. I was at a gold mine in Takwa in Ghana, and what I saw was amazing. They were mining sulfide ore, to be processed for gold. I counted 36 CAT dump truck, 36 numbers. Dangote, at the time before I left, we had just about 10, 10 dump trucks. 36 dump truck, each 150 tons. Yes. In addition to that, before they can even employ you as a dump truck operator, you also have to go through a simulator. I was the first time I saw that. The only place I've seen that is in the aviation industry. Before you can fly as a pilot, you have to go through the simulation process. You enter an office like this, and as you are closing the door, you are closing the door of a dump truck. What is just appearing before you is the steering wheel, the gear selector and everything. And you start it and you hear the sound of a dump truck starting, just within a building. And your windshield shows the mine road, and you continue to drive on the mine road. They designed in such a way that another dump truck will be coming, somewhere ahead of you, and you have to see how to navigate and avoid a collision. So that is the kind of investment that you have to do for you to be able to operate at that scale. In Wamba, for instance, we are still using the Howo dump truck, that can carry just about 25, 30 tons. Yes, also maybe because of the size of plant that we have, if we upgrade and have 1,000 tons per hour processing plant, then we will be making that kind of investment. But for now, that's what we have. Mining method is also a function of the characteristic of your ore. Most of the time, we do quarrying because we can see the granite deposit, you know, outcrops. So you cannot say an outcrop and you want to decide to do underground mining. I mean, does it make sense? You know, it doesn't make sense. So the characteristics of the ore, of the deposit, will dictate to you. I can also share with you, we have, we're operating at a mine somewhere in Plateau State in a location called Wase. And we have to sink a shaft to be able to intercept the lead or the galena. As of yesterday, because you said, let's talk about yesterday, not today. As of yesterday, we have done 70 meters underground. And we have constructed adit that has gone horizontally to a length of about 15 meters. So what we are encountering right now is influx of water, and we have to do the drainage system, have to evacuate the water. We still need to go an additional 15 meters for us to be able to intercept the ore and start winning it. So if the ore had existed 5 meters below the surface or even 10 meters below the surface, I would still prefer to carry my excavator there and continue to excavate till I get to the ore and start extracting it. But when geology has decided to hide the ore 70 meters below the surface, you know, it is economically non-viable for you to carry out surface mining in that kind of environment. So I want to repeat that the characteristics of your mineral deposits will dictate the type of mining method that you are going to deploy to be able to win it. In some other destinations, mining destination, I was in Ashanti Gold Mine in Ghana, and one of their shafts, they told me, is the shallowest. I traveled 800 meters from the surface down. We are doing 70 meters in Wase for lead. But for gold, in Ashanti Gold, I traveled 800 meters in a shaft, just one shaft. And I've been told that there is a gold mine in South Africa that you can travel 10 kilometers down. So, you know, it also has to do with the kind of mineral that you are dealing with. You can only do that for gold. Even if lead is existing as if lead is existing at 200 meters, I will not go there. Because, you know, at the end of the day, how much is it sold? You know, what's the number at the London Metal Exchange? You have to look at the LME price to be able to decide if whatever you want to do, if the price will support your activities. So these are some of the consideration processing techniques: crushing, grinding, magnetic separation, flotation, gravity separation. Well, for this, I will like to share with us that times are changing. You know, yes, even till now, we are still crushing to be able to liberate the metal in a rock. We do a lot of crushing. But I listened to the presentation of the Chief Executive Officer of Ivanhoe Mines. He was at Future Mineral Forums in Riyadh, and they are already looking at using tensile forces to tear the rock apart and take the metal. Instead of crushing and grinding it, they don't want to do that trouble anymore. So technology is, you know, is advancing, and you'll be so shocked that in a couple of years, crushing will become very obsolete. Local facilities, developing processing plant to add value domestically. One of the things that that is so prominent on the agenda of the Minister of Solid Mineral Development is value addition, value addition, value addition, value addition. And it didn't just start with him. You read in the news that Tesla, Elon Musk, had wanted to partner with Nigeria to be able to mine lithium. And the then minister, architect Adegbite from Ogun State, declined the offer because he prefers that you must do everything here and add value, which is very, very important, which is very important. I also had the narrative from the presentation by Dr. David 2 days ago when he was talking about the value of a certain mineral when it is just in its crude form and what it now becomes after it has been processed. It's always like that. You know, it's always like that. And sometimes it breaks the heart of practitioners when you hear about how valuable this thing becomes when it gets to such destination. Exactly. Water, the one from the tap. Yes, 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 yes. Exactly, exactly. You know, this is the kind of thing that I want, that I should not just be the only one talking here. You know, on the internet, I also read something about water. It's one of the American rappers that said that, I think 50 Cent, that sometimes the destination where you are at determines your what. Yeah, water from the tap, how much? You know, this same water, if you now take it to a restaurant, maybe it will cost about 200 naira or 300. If you take it to maybe a 5-star hotel, then it becomes 1,000 naira, 2,000 naira. Now take it on flight. And you now have to serve the same water at, let's say, even a business class cabin. It will be like 2 times that of the price at a 5-star hotel. So you see, the way the destination changes, also the value that is the same water. You know, it's the same water. So we cannot overemphasize the place of value addition in mineral processing. Okay, I will give you the last I checked for tin concentrate. I think it came at about 30,800. You can check LME for tin, 30,800. If he has improved more than that, I'll be the happiest person. But the last time I checked, it was 30,800. But you see, if for someone who does not know the value, if you manage to maybe drill and blast a tin bearing pegmatite, that's a rock, and you hold it in your hand, anybody who wants to buy it, maybe if he buys for too much, he will buy for the price of granite aggregate, right? That is even if you have crushed it. And granite aggregate in Abuja today is about 12,000 naira a ton. A ton, 12,000 naira. But if you process the same guy and you are able to extract the tin in it, and it becomes a concentrate between 70 to 75% purity, you will sell for $30,800. So that's the difference. Yes, that's just the difference, that we cannot overemphasize the place of value addition. And what do we do when we are processing? We want to add value. We want to add value and more value. Then we talk about local facilities, developing processing plan to add value domestically. Yeah, talked about that already. Infrastructure policy and regulatory support. Mining resource corridors integrate extraction, transport, and processing with economic sectors. Building road railways, yes, that goes back to when Nigeria started the issue of mining. I think most of us here will remember that railway as a transport facility did not come to Nigeria until Nigeria started mining coal. Yeah, it was coal mining that brought railway, because the British will have to transport the coal. It's bulky. They can't do that by road. So there's always the nexus that is created between mineral extraction, processing, and these facilities. Another one that we also talk about is power. You know, until Nigeria began processing tin in Jos, that was the first time we have our first power plant. The first power plant in Nigeria was as a result of tin processing in Jos. And I'm happy to report to you that that power plant is still running up to now. And that is why you have them side by side in Jos. You can either go for Jos Distribution Company, the JED, Jos Electricity Distribution Company, or the other one. That other one was as a result of tin processing in Jos and is the first power plant in Nigeria. So there's always this handshake that happened between, I worked at National Iron Ore Mining Company in Itakwe. And for us to be able at that time to deliver iron ore concentrate and super concentrate to plants in Ajaokuta and in Alaja in Delta State, you can imagine if you have to put trucks on the road to transport such the specific, who can tell me the specific gravity of iron? The specific gravity of iron? You are correct. You are correct. So it's between 5.5 and 5.9. You know, 5.5 and 5.9. So if you now have 25 tons of this to be transported, you will wreck the road in no time. And that was what led to the construction of the first standard gauge rail in Nigeria. We only had another one during President Goodluck Jonathan, that's the one that connects Abuja and Kaduna. The last one that we have had is the one done by President Muhammad Buhari between Lagos and Ibadan. It's also a standard gauge rail. But the first standard gauge rail was as a result of mining activity, extraction, processing, you know. So for us to be able to efficiently develop the sector to deliver the goods, infrastructure is something that has to be paid a lot of attention to. The other one is policy. Yeah, I talked about enforcement. You know, there has not been so much enforcement regime around environment and safety in the mining sector. That has to be stepped up. But again, you have to look at those who are to do the enforcement. How many staff do they have in Nesria? You know, how many staff do they have in Nesria? And how many places can they go to at a time? That's a food for thought. Security, address conflict and policy gap to attract investment. One of the key investments any mining company will have to do today in Nigeria is investment in security. We have a mining site in a location known as Bura, under Ningi local government of Bauchi State. We are mining lithium there. We are mining lepidolite. The quality of our lepidolite has risen to about 6.2%. You know, so it's a good one. It's a good one. So, but for us to be able to work with ease there, we have a deployment from Nigeria Armor Corps in Bauchi to the location, you know. So because, I mean, it has become so perilous now that you can just be on your site and some guys will come around and take you and start demanding ransom. Similarly, when we started operation in Wamba in Nasarawa State, I approached the 177 Gas Battalion in Kefi for deployment. You know, you have to do that, and we should be talking about it because, you know, it also had to the cost of running such operations. I mean, ordinarily, she processes their payment every month. Have you paid them now? You should answer me. Because they were still asking me this morning, have you paid them now? Have you paid them? You are on the spot, right? So, you know, we have to pay. We have to pay. And this is monthly payment. I have a detachment of 10 soldiers in each of these locations that I've mentioned. And apart from Abuja, where we think, yeah, it's relatively safe, we have an operation in Kuje that is going on. We are mining, yes. Oh, really? Then I should be taking you home after the election. I've lived there since 2011, and I've continued to live there till now. Yes, my house is there. Yes. So we found the location Gaube to be relatively safe. There was a time there were disturbances by kidnappers and the rest of them, but that did not necessitate us to do troop deployment. There's no troop deployment there. What we have is just the common vigilante, about maybe 4 or 5 of them. And we have operated there since 2021, and we are still operating. No incident at all. No. Okay, what do we do in that place? We talk about adding value, right? If I want to sell dolomite rock to any buyer out there, if you check from the publication of the latest publication on royalty from Federal Ministry of Solid Mineral Development, the cost per ton is 4,000 naira. 4,000 naira. By the time I crush it, I'm crushing in Kuje. By the time I crush it and I send it to our facility, the blending plant in Zaria, just between the raw rock and crushing, the price has gone up to 16,000 naira a ton. Just adding value. By the time the real bosses over there now turn it to fertilizer, it's almost like double that price, from 4 to 32,000 a ton. So we cannot de-escalate the importance of adding value to these things. And what value did I add? It's just combination. I crushed it. Yeah, crushed it, and that's value addition. So we will continue to have this conversation. Community engagement, sustainability, and market. I think I've also discussed this. We want to look at community benefits, job, infrastructure, and skills training, environmental care, reforestation, water treatment, and rehabilitation, market growth. What we are doing at the moment does not in any way contaminate the water bodies around us, because
ask that question.
Yes, the tin is we call it I want to try to remember now. It's a non-magnetic metal. Yeah. Yes, but there's a name for that. It's not coming right now. No, metal-wise. Yes. So you see, it's almost like it's an inert material. It does not belong. It's not reactive. It does not belong to the categories of heavy metals. So even if we safely discharge the effluent from the washing process, it does not do anything either to the plant, the what we call the flora and the fauna in the ecosystem. So
Yeah,
it's a safe. Yeah. Exactly.
And the minimum allowable limits, even though it's one of the media on the watch. However, the minimum allowable limit is high, so it's going to be quite difficult for miners to concentrate cassiterite at any spot to that level.
Okay.
However, it's one of the mineral on the watch.
On the watch.
Particularly
okay. Yeah. For people in the academic institution, yeah, they can continue to do that wash. but for us, what concerns us is we are not looking at the minimum allowable. We are looking at what we call the TLV, the threshold limit value. So the industry look at the threshold limit value. Once it has not surpassed the threshold limit value, then it is safe. It is safe. Yeah. So one of those things that for instance, our licenses in Wamba will expire by next year, and we will need, because it was issued for 5 years, we will need to do renewal. So at the process of renewal, there are things that you will be asked, to supply. One of them is your audit certificate. Another one is your report on the EPRP, Environmental Protection and Rehabilitation Plan. Another one, very, very key, important one, is how have you implemented your CDA, your Community Development Agreement. So Community Development Agreement is so key that if that one is not submitted, your license will not be renewed. So operators, players in the sector know the importance of Community Development Agreement. In our own case, because I will use our operation as a case study, before we even drafted the Community Development Agreement with the people around where we work, we have done outreaches to them, identify what we think is a problem for the community. Then instead of doing it like top down, we did bottom up, ask them the questions. And one of the things they told us at the time is they have a medical facility that is not connected to any grid. In fact, the entire village is not connected to a grid. So their medical facility is always in darkness. So one of the first things that we did was to run a solar power system for the medical facility, so that the caregiver in the medical facility should not only work during the daytime, it should also be able to work in the night in case you have emergencies. Then we also, even though they did not ask us, we also identify the risk in treating people where you do not have portable water supply. The one they generally call the pipe-borne water, but pipe-borne water really does not exist these days. You have to drill your borehole and make water portable. So we discovered that most of the ailments treated as a result of bad water. So you can just remove the cause of that, and people will become healthy by providing portable water. So we drill a borehole in that same medical facility and make water portable for them. So thereafter was when we now had to bring the ministry officials, the local government officials, to sit down and draft a community development agreement. So we have already, because we know it is a duty on our part to get that done. The unfortunate thing is that the place where we operate is straddled between communities, not just a community. So as we are doing this in this community, you are also replicating that in another community. So we have the Kwara community and we have the Jida community. Same thing we did with Jida community is also what we did in Kwara community. We have a third community now where we have a tenement that's about 10 kilometers away from our processing plant. It also has very good deposit of cassiterite. If you are standing on the hill, you may be able to see Bokos. So that's how close it is to Plateau State. So it's almost at the boundary between Nasarawa and Plateau State. So there too, we have signed community development agreement with them. One of the earliest things that they wanted us to do is, while we were constructing the road infrastructure to be able to get to the deposit itself, they also engage us to do road infrastructure within the community, which we have done. So you cannot have rest of mind as an operator, as a player in the sector, without taking into cognizance the need to partner, to engage with the community. At the moment, I'm doing a course on disaster and risk management at the National State University in Kefi, and I chose a topic on environmental, social, and governance, how it relates to community around Wamba and the rest of them, because it is something that is dear to our heart. We want to see how they respond to some of these things, that we don't just bandy words around, that we can drill it down to each and every member of the community, and they will understand what we say when we say it.
Yeah, I'm really amazed to see what your interest in addressing environmental issues.
Yes.
That affects the community.
Yes.
I think it's also one of area of research.
Okay.
Here as well.
Okay.
In fact, gradually now we are beginning to see more reason to go into water and nutrition.
Okay.
But we've had some discussion with nutritionists and people in water, people and I know we have that in material science here.
Okay.
Who actually do a lot of medium water. But for us, we get the mining sector.
The mining ecosystem.
Yeah. Very much. In fact, one of the research studies that we did this time around was to do this 1 year cycle assessment.
Okay.
So we have three. We took sample at the extreme dry season, 3 very rainy season.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Then we try to see what is the progression of the heavy metal contamination, and then we actually, I think, how many of the heavy metals we looked at? I think 4 or 5 of them, which we are looking at to really see how the progression of the heavy metal contamination was affected over time. And the import of that to us, of course, I'm saying is so that we can also see possible ways of collaboration and things like that. And one of the things that we try to do now is we're beginning to see maybe 10 years assessment of prevalent diseases in some of these communities and see whether they have anything to do with observations from this research.
Okay.
And being able to tie them together, because what happens at that region also will accumulate down to the brain. Between Lagos, between Delta, will also have the bags of it.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time.
Yes.
I think it's really good if all the industries live in another region, or better to say the Middle West region that are aimed at all these things, are very careful of this. I think it's one of the ways this country can begin to tackle the issues with diseases that are prevalent and is traceable to some of these.
Yeah, for me, I will just go straight into it and tell you that it also has to do with the brand. You know, when you have a particular brand that you want to project and also protect, we going into mining from beginning, we decided we're going to do responsible mining. You know, so, and you know, these are some of the characteristics of responsible mining. You know, sometimes they come at a cost, but you cannot run away from this cost. You can't run away from this cost. And I don't think anything will be too much to spare to engage the community where you operate. Because you see, community engagement is just key to the success of your operation.
My experience is that I've been to mining sites within the local government authority.
Okay.
To the point of if I would need some work, we'll be looking at national lighting to look at plateau lighting.
Wow.
Where we go.
Okay.
If you're saying I think you're understating it. He's doing excellent work.
So those things. Okay.
Okay, so that they can ask their questions here. I understand. Okay, so innovation, challenges, and recommendation. Continuous monitoring with deep learning and fintech enhances mineral identification and resource management. Investment in R&D support technologies like automated ore sorting and steered milling. Challenges include insecurity, infrastructure. We have discussed that. Innovation, AI, fintech. I want to share another very important experience with you. While I was listening to the CEO of Ivanhoe Mines, they are doing some collaboration with Ma'aden. Ma'aden is more like you will call an ombudsman, is the company that is responsible for all the mining activities in the mining ecosystem in Saudi Arabia. And it's a company that is heavily capitalized. As of April 2020, that company has a market capitalization of about $47.5 billion US margin. Now, most of the big mining corporations are now collaborating with them. And they got a tenement in Saudi Arabia where they want to do exploration. The interesting thing is the size of this tenement. They got about 50,000 square kilometers of land to explore. 50,000 square kilometers of land to explore. And the area they have indicated to start their exploration from, they have only done just about half of 1,000 square kilometers. Now, one of the interesting things is the deployment of AI. While I discuss about geophysical methods, I mentioned induced polarization and I talked about characteristics like chargeability and resistivity. They don't have time for all those. They don't have time for all those. What they have deployed lately, they call it Typhoon. That's the name of that technology. It will send millions of electromagnetic radiations to the ground at once. And it can travel to a depth between 1.6 to 2.4 kilometers underground. And if there is any mineral down there, you will just see this showing on their screen coming up like Christmas trees. They have used that method to discover one of the largest copper deposits now in the world as we speak. So we cannot, again, overemphasize the place of AI and advanced technologies in this sector. I'm sure, yeah, we will get there. For now, around us, the best technology that we have been able to deploy is hanging, is sending drones, to be able to do the kind of survey that will have used the aircraft to do. One of the advantages of that is you suspend the magnetometer under the drone, and it can do everything you want it to do. And you can suspend it at an height not maybe sometime above 50 meters. But if you check at what height the aircraft needs to fly to be able to get those data for you and compare to what a drone can do, drones are now becoming more effective, in carrying out, and even cheap, very cheap, to carry out aeromagnetic surveys, For now, I think that is the technology that is available around us. I know people that are now using drone to do their surveys. But I think we would like to get to the stage where we can deploy the kind of Typhoon technology just recently deployed by Ivanhoe Mines in Saudi Arabia. From what I heard from the CEO, that is Robert Friedman, that the copper deposit is open-ended. Open-ended, that is the largest they have seen so far. So that is to show you what technology can do when it is deployed appropriately. Then we'll look at challenges: insecurity, infrastructure, illegal mining, environment, financing. I think we have discussed. I even have drone, on display there. So it's not only doing that, it's also doing a whole lot. Other than survey, it can get you as much information about your operation, about the mining operation itself. It can give you information as to the effectiveness or the efficacy of your mining equipment, and generate a lot of data that you can manipulate and get the best out of those equipment that you have deployed. So, insecurity, infrastructure, illegal mining, environment financing. Recently, just very recently, the Ministry of Solid Mineral Development put together what we call mining marshals. And those guys have been doing very well, very well. I hope they continue this way, and they can also have an oversight body that is looking at the activities, because Nigerians, once we have the control of weapons, there are a whole lot that we can do with it. Recently, they went to a location in Nasarawa State called Rafin Gabas. Rafin Gabas is a location that if you are coming from Kefi and you are heading towards Gudi, you take a detour by your right towards Aguada, and from Aguada you can get to Rafin Gabas. The last time I visited Rafin Gabas, sometime this year, I think around February, I saw more than 3,000 people. I don't want to call them illegal miners. Everybody digging his own hole, So it was like a Monday market, no control, no. But if you see the structure, they have a police station, they have something that looks like a bank, they have everything that you can also get anywhere. But what they do not have is the license to operate. Yes. So I understand the minister deployed the mining marshals there, and they were able to disband the team illegally mining. And what they are doing there is also tin. They are mining tin. The whole of that village is sitting pretty on very good quality cassiterite. Very good quality cassiterite. So I think effort like this should be sustained. These are not things that individual companies can provide, other than the one I've shared with you, that we can only provide within our own sphere of operation, just to be sure that our staff are safe, and we can also protect our investment, the facilities, and the infrastructure. Recommendation: invest in infrastructure and public-private partnership. Yeah. And I've also shared that with you when I informed you about the Solid Mineral Corporation. The bill is before the National Assembly. We hope it will soon turn to an act, and from there, this partnership can come. Like I have told you, the ownership structure of the company will be in 50, 25, 25. 50 by private sector, 25 by government, then 25 by ordinary Nigerians. So I think if we do that, we will be able to fast track the development of the sector. Before I round off, there are some myths that I will want to share with you about mining. One of them is mining is a dying industry. Do you agree with that? Is mining a dying industry? Why do you disagree? Say that again. Mhm. Okay. Sit down, please. Sit down. Yeah. Do more. Yeah. Okay, see, I will tell you something. It has a lot to do with government policy. Why did Dangote, for instance, go into making cement? The government of Olusegun Obasanjo embarked on what we call backward integration. And that policy brought a whole lot of investors into that sector. So just one single policy of government, then you see everybody wants to do business and make profit. I will tell you that Dangote was a poor man until he started doing cement. Yes. I had the sales record between January and April of 2010. We sold 40 billion naira worth of cement in 4 months. In 4 months. What will interest you at the time, as of 2010, Dangote was selling the paper we call ATC, Authority to Carry, for 1,430 naira. 1,430 naira per bag of cement. As an insider, we were doing 390 naira to produce a bag. Yes. So that is more like blood money, right? So if you have the right environment and you have the good policy, some of these things you will see investors running after, and because an indigenous person like Dangote did what he did, is enough signposting for anyone that wants to come. That this is profitable. Someone is already doing it, So we need to have a player like that within the mining industry to signpost it to the people outside this space, that yes, it can be done and it can be done profitably. You don't need to chase around for these people, they will come. Okay. Additional samples.
Over 1 year.
From the ministry. So see what we're talking about. If you have the right kind of policy. The second myth I also like to discuss is technology is replacing mining jobs. Do you agree with that?
As per what you talked, I think gradually it's taking place.
Okay. Another one that we would like to also look at is renewable energy will replace mining. Is that correct?
Mining complements renewable energy. They are not mutually exclusive. Because part of the components you use to do renewable are mining.
Like what? Let's...
Yeah, used to get fuel cells.
Okay.
Another cobalt, whatever. They are lead.
Yes. Yeah. I agree with all your takes. For us to be able to achieve the energy transition that we talk about, you have mining as a partner in progress. I'd like to share a statistics with you. I think from 1 minute. Yeah, because you mentioned it, it has to do with, for instance, if you look at EV, electric vehicles, and we want to see how an electric vehicle will operate. I read a report from European Federation for Transport and Environment. We can check it out. That for a 60 kilowatt hour battery, the mineral component of that battery is about 185 kg. 185 kg. And please listen to how much mineral you have in the battery. It's unfortunate that they call them lithium batteries. The percentage of lithium in this is so small. Graphite constitute 52 kg of that 185 kg graphite, because graphite is the anode and is the only anode. Graphite makes 28.1% of an EV battery. The second one is aluminum that is derived from bauxite. It represents 18.9%, 35 kg. The next one is copper, 20 kg, 10.8%. Steel, 20 kg, another 10.8%. Nickel, 29 kg. Nickel is one of the cathodes that you have in the batteries. Manganese, 10 kg. Cobalt, 8 kg. Lithium, 6 kg, representing 3.2%. Yes. Then iron, 5 kg, representing 2.7%. If you bring all of this together, it gives you 195 kg. Next time you see an EV battery, it cannot exist without mining. It can't exist without mining. So I think we need to have that. We have to have that at the back of our mind. Another myth is that mining is an old tech industry. Is that correct?
That has been what we have been teaching our students. But I think that there is a transition.
I just gave you an example of what Ivanhoe is doing in Saudi Arabia. What can be more tech than that? You know? So I think it's quite the opposite. There's a whole lot of innovations going on in the mining industry at the moment. Then the last myth I would like to discuss is career opportunities in mining are shrinking. Is that correct? Okay. Really?
Okay, personally, I've seen very few people big, the pocket and the bag.
Okay. Here, I will share a letter with you. I wrote it on 28th of April, 2025, to the State Coordinator, National Youth Service Corps, Kubwa, Abuja FCT. Request for deployment of corps members. How is it shrinking? We're even looking for them. Yes, go ahead. We are looking for them. It's not shrinking. There are opportunities. No, I've just shown you. This is the agreement copy.
What I do is,
Yeah.
but like I said, this is not called.
Oh, really?
No.
Wow.
The question for copper. No. This is my first time of getting it.
I've done it as provided for doctor. Yeah. Actually, mining can be really tricky. You don't want to take somebody who does not understand safety and all that.
Yeah, that's nice, because with this letter, I was very specific that discipline, mining engineering or geology. Yes. Because we believe that they must have had the training, you know. And we're even doing proposed remuneration of 120,000 naira more. Federal government is paying 77,000. You know? Yeah, apart from the federal government remuneration. Please. Okay.
In secondary school stage, so they know that if you study this in the university, these are the opportunities waiting for you after your education. So you don't find a lot of students applying courses like geology, mining, technology, science, because they don't know what will be out there for them when they are done. So not a lot of education is being given on the prospect of the mining. Until I read geoscience and until I started in this profession, I didn't know this was how vast it was. So even more from the secondary school stage, students are sensitized about the mining industry. the more people will be interested in, um,
Okay, now let me quickly answer that. Today, at one of the federal government colleges in Castina, we now study at secondary school level. In fact, WAEC has enlisted it. You can write mining at secondary school level. So we are bringing it now to their doorstep. So that sensitization we are talking about is already happening. It's already happening, and I think we will do more in that.
Probably something can also be proud to provide.
Okay.
We are doing something which is part of some of the sightseeing events you will have after this event.
Okay.
We put up something that looks like the mini all of Nigeria mini museum. We have a minerals show glass, and we are planning to have up to about 120 ore samples in exhibited. Currently now we have about 60 of that about, but we have more glasses. But the reason why I wanted to show you is that we want mining sites to also help us with supply of these different mineral resources. So that
Yeah, that's doable.
the benefit of that is that we do have, the university has a program of inviting secondary school students, primary school students to university.
Okay.
So anytime they are invited, we want that show class to be one of the locations to visit. Essentially, it is to activate this what we call mine and mineral education. That even students from the grade 5, grade 4, grade 5, grade 6 are beginning to see what their country actually has as resources and why it is important for them to choose a career that will ensure the development of that resources, because that is where the wealth of this nation actually lies.
Sure.
And so if that begins to ring in their mind, even from the time that we will take common entrance, they call it.
Yes.
Do you know why? But it's because I know they can't take mining on probably their senior secondary school.
Yeah, senior secondary school. Yeah.
So before then, a lot of things are formed in their mind. And that's one of the things that we wanted to do with that all of Nigeria myself. I actually saw it in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
State University when I visited. And I felt like, wow. And even there, surprisingly, probably just because some of the faculty there are from China, they also have all of China museum. Just like this minerals glass. They have it in that department, and I believe it is courtesy of probably Chinese that are lecturing there. And I don't know. But I called the technical people and said, I took pictures. I said, I want this, And when we came in, we realized that it goes beyond just exhibition. There's a lot we can do about mineral mining and mineral education, where the students will be invited and then they will be told, this is what your country has. You have no choice. If you want this country to be rich and richer than where they have to be, you have to learn things that will help us develop these resources, because that is where the world.
Amazing, yeah.
Yes. I'm still stuck in that idea of mine and being very crude and primitive, handyman, all this slave labor stuff. You have to think, digging the ground. And that's what a lot of people. So most of these youth growing up, they want fancy job, they want color, they want bank job, they want tech, where they just be pressing laptop without having to sweat. So, but if there's this realization that mining don't have to be cool, there are technologies now to make things easier.
Yeah, sure.
I think we can help them a lot, because when we talk about mining now, people will do the first thing that comes to mind is being in the sun, digging up something hard. Yeah, which a lot of these youths now that see their mates doing their road driving cars wouldn't want to do. So there should be a lot of dedication in that regard to say that mining don't have to be that good that our forefathers did.
I agree.
And there are new technologies now to make it easier for people to go into it and make good money.
Yeah, sure. Dr. Shiu, your intervention. React to what she said.
Some of the students who are calling geology, studying mining, are still scared of what is going to happen.
Wow.
They still don't 10 years, 6 years, and there. And the lecturers, one of the lecturers saw me that mobilize students to the conference. He told me I have to speak to the students. So we organized and he brought all the students together. And I had to tell them what the prospects are. And they were so happy. They were excited. Oh, so we can do this after. We can do this. We can go here. This mining companies exist. I said, yeah, it exists. And we can find your footing in all this. So we are still a lot of this thing that has to be done. Awareness and all that. Even in the university. So I agree with that. And of course, it will be done. Definitely. And a lot of people are already in the mining space. We have mining engineering, we have jobs.
Now we have an ABU. ABU has started. Yeah. Planning to have one at advanced stage. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Kogi State University of Science and Technology.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's one of the takeaways from this type of engagement that yes, we have just identified that gap now, and we can do a whole lot of collaborations in that regard. For instance, once we are sure that our mine sites are safe and safe for visit, why not? An institution like yours can organize students, even from secondary school, you know, not necessarily students from here, you know, for a guided tour, you know. So for the first time, they are interfacing directly with what mining is all about. And I think from there, they will start having a reset about what they should expect. Yeah, sure. I mean, it's a great thing to do. Yeah, sure. Yeah, because there's no difference. Because any oil company has what we call an OML. And that's why it's called our mining lease. so oil is mining. Yeah, yeah.
Just reorientation and providing more value, just like you said, value addition. And we can't yes, we can't escape from that.
Yeah. Yeah, it has it's dominant. It's dominant.
Investment and not that aspect.
Well, you see, I think the factor that we must look at is the ability to be able to do the volume. You know, that is already there in the oil and gas sector. You know, that is where you can hear, that Saudi Arabia can produce 10 million barrels of crude in a day. Which solid mineral can you produce in that quantity? So, please go ahead.
Most oil reserves do not produce even up to 60%. You don't. It's a mirage. I mean, when you got 100% of oil, they don't produce up to 50%. That's why even in the primary recovery, you can get like 30%. Then when you do enhanced recovery, then you can get 50 or 55. Yeah, I don't think it is like that in the solid mineral industry, because I believe that
you can mine it 100%. Yes.
So
yeah, but even with that, all that is mined is not all that is That's all that
Okay, what are useful? Okay, I get that.
Yeah, because there's a statistic I'd like to share with you. Between 2007 to 2023, the total volume of mineral mined in the Nigerian space came to 702 million metric tons. 702 million metric tons. 2023 alone, it was 95 million metric tons. 95 million metric tons. Now, check that with oil and gas. As bad as it is today in Nigeria, we are still doing between 1.5 to 1.6 million barrels per day. How many days does it take to do 95 million? You know, so a whole year, we did 95 million tons. 95 million tons a whole year, you know. These are publicly available data. You know, so, and he will also agree with me that we have two set of associations within the industry. We have the Nigeria Society of Mining Engineers, and we have the Nigeria Mining and Geosciences Society. Yeah, I belong to the two, but it will tell you which one is richer, you know. And when they are organizing conferences, the kind of allure that you see on display, you know, is better with the Nigeria Mining and Geosciences Society, because that is where you have the petroleum engineers. Yes, the geophysicists. But Nigeria Society of Mining Engineers are just mining engineers, you know, and 50% of them are poor people, you know. So yes, yeah, 50% they are poor. So I think there's a whole lot that can be done in that sector, and part of is what we are doing right now. This is creating awareness, you know. It's creating a lot of awareness. It's just that, please, next time you are organizing this, I think you should do a whole lot around participation. You know, participation is.
This thing that is happening here.
Yeah.
In fact, it's also the same story even at Pennsylvania State University.
Wow.
Where that scholarship. In fact, currently, some of our like the professor who spoke yesterday, he's starting with the responsibility of mining and mineral education in Pennsylvania State University. In fact, the management of the university told them that, look, the volume of students coming into this department. In fact, as I speak, when I was there, in a level, I was one particular level, that 300 level or so. The number of students there is just 4.
Wow.
So the department, the university has told them that, look, if you can't improve the number of students admitted into this stream,
we shut down
the time will come that we will match you. In fact, as I speak, that's why they have energy and mineral engineering combined. In that energy, they have system engineering, they have renewable and so on, like 4 or 5 jumps of department put together. Something that will be like a school. And all the reason is because the interest of the student. In fact, if you remove Nigeria and Ghana, the other students probably maybe between 10 to 15% are coming from next year. If it's not Nigeria or Ghana, we're talking about this university. So the interest gradually is diminished, just like he has said. Students of today, they want that tech, you know, things that, you know, well-established jobs. And so it takes them a long time to really let them know that, oh, mine. In fact, I will be very plain. When they were talking, I was like, and you are calling big money. I was just wondering. So, I mean, I've been into this, I've visited mining sites. I mean, of course, our own area is Beirut, you know, and we don't really have, you know, big men like, you know, I've seen it described to me. I mean, that's just the truth of it. So I'm beginning to see another era of, you know, mining engineers, mining companies that are doing well. You mentioned Dolomite here, you mentioned lithium there, you mentioned, you know, so and it's amazing what energy, or batteries energy is in this country. And I've been here. I'm getting to, so that's why this kind of
all this in less than 5 years. So you can imagine where we will be in another 10 years. So for me, yes, we need to really work on expanding the frontiers to develop more interest in the sector. Yeah, I will be honest with you, a lot is happening in the sector. Maybe the dissemination is the problem. A whole lot is happening in the sector.
Probably you are not in power. You have not made us within the academic environment. You have not made us rich. First ladies are not here.
Think it's hanging again?
Yeah, I got a problem. We need to tweak it and then.
Thank you. Yeah. So if we have intervention from online participants, then I can take that.
Okay. All right, participants. Maybe you can just speak if they have questions.
Yeah, good afternoon. It's already afternoon here. We thought this will end around 11, and it has taken this long. So if we have comments and interventions from you, we would like to take them. Thank you. Can we project that to the big screen? What we have there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Good afternoon once again.
Good
It
afternoon.
has been an interesting time here, and we are just wondering if there are questions for the facilitator or it's a contribution. You are all welcome.
On my own part, I can only thank the facilitator. It's been an interesting and exciting discussion, really. And I can only and I also want to also appreciate the organizer, the AUST. And I would just encourage that this should actually, like we have mentioned, sensitization is important. Especially I love the part of getting the younger ones to be interested, to actually know that, it's not only oil that we have. We have much, 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 much more.